Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be doing this thing called finding angle measurements. Alright, so pretty much what's going to be going on is we're going to use our knowledge of straight angles, which you guys know have a 180 degree measure, right? We're going to be using complementary angles, which we know are two angles that add up to be 90 degrees. We're going to be using supplementary angles, all right, supplementary angles, which you guys remember are closely related to the straight angles. They also add to be 180 degrees, and vertical angles, all right? And the most important thing about vertical angles that we said was, let's see, I'll put it up, maybe up here somewhere. We said vertical angles are congruent. All right, so that's going to be the most important thing for vertical angles that we're going to be looking at. So let's look at the best way to do this is just going to be looking at some examples. So pretty much what's going to be going on is we're just going to be using the fact that straight angles have 180 degrees, right? Complementary angles are two angles that add up to be 90. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to be 180. Vertical angles are congruent. That's the most useful thing about vertical angles. So let's look at some examples. This first example, it says find the value of x, right? And you're given this straight line with a line coming out, right? And you can see that there's an angle here and an angle here that we don't know. All right, that's why there's an x there, because we don't know the measure bit. But what can we, so let's make some inferences. Okay, let's see what we can look at about this little picture here, right? So if you look closely, you can see that this angle and this angle, right? They're part of a straight angle. This straight angle, this straight line, all right? So you want to use the fact that you have a straight line a lot when in problems like this, when you kind of see it. All right. So what do you know about having a straight line? Okay. Well, if you have a straight line like this, then you have a straight angle that goes along with it, right? So we know that this straight line has 180 degrees total. Okay. So this little arc I made here, that has 180 degrees total. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that this angle plus the rest of this angle has to be 180. So algebraically, 146 degrees, which is this obtuse one, plus x, which we don't know, has to equal 180 degrees, right? So what we can do here is just a little bit of algebra, because what we want to do is we want to find the value of x, all right? So what you could do here is pretty much just subtract 146 from both sides, right? What you do to one side, you do to the other side, because we want to find the value of x, but to find the value of x, you want to get x by itself. So when you subtract 146 from both sides, these 146's will go away, and you'll get x equal to, well, if you do 180 minus 46, 180 minus 46, I'm sorry, 180 minus 146, you'll get x equals 34 degrees. All right, so it's pretty straightforward for now. All right, so we had a straight angle, right? We said from straight angles we have 180 degrees. Okay, so that means that this 146 plus whatever this angle was has to add to be 180. And that's what I did here. I said this angle plus this angle has to add to equal 180 because it's a straight angle. All right, and then I got x by itself by subtracting 146 from both sides. And when I did that, I got x to equal 34 degrees. All right, and sure enough, if you do 146 plus 34, you'll get that it's equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so what you could also say is that now that you know x equals 34, now you can say that these are supplementary angles because they add to be 180. All right, let's look at another example. It says find the value of x. So now you see that we kind of, it's not a straight angle that we're going to have here. Now you can see that we have, it's going to be a right angle, right? This little box here. Okay, this little box right here is what tells you have a right angle. And you guys remember that right angles, so what's this thing in here is 90 degrees. All right, so this one was 180 degrees because of straight angle, but now we're going to have, this is going to be a right angle, so it's going to have 90 degrees, right? So we can use the fact, we can pretty much use the fact that complementary angles add up to be 180. All right, so what we can do here is the same thing we did here, except with 90 degrees because of the little box, okay? So we can do 63 plus x is equal to 90, okay? Because we have this little box here. So that means that this angle right here plus this angle, this x right here, has to equal 90 degrees because of this little box, all right? So if we want to find out what x is equal to, which is what they're asking us to do, find the value of x, all you have to do is subtract 63 from both sides to get the x by itself. Whenever the problem asks you to find the value of x, you just want to get x by itself. That's all it means. All right, get x by itself on one side of the equal sign with nothing else next to it. So when you subtract 63 from both sides, these 63's go away because 63 minus 63 is 0. So they just go away, and you're left with x equal to, well, 90 minus 63 is 27. All right, if you want to go to the side and do that, you can. So you get x equals 27 degrees. All right, very straightforward. And you can go ahead and check that. So if you do 27 plus 63, you get 90. All right, so we just found the value of x that made this true because this thing was broken up. This thing was broken up into two different angles. One of the angles was 63. One of the angles was x. But both of them have to add up to be 90 degrees because of this little box here. That's why I set up this little algebraic equation over here to find out what x is equal to. And we found out what x is equal to because when I added the new x, which was 27, plus 63, I get 90. It checks out, okay? Checks. Next one. It says find the value of x. All right, so now what you want to recall here is what I talked about in the last video when I was in the types of angles video. Sorry, not the vertical angles, but in types of angles. I remember saying something like, if you have supplementary angles, you can break them up, right? They don't have to be in the same. They don't have to be on the same line. All right, so you can break them up. Pretty much is all it's saying. All right, so now it's saying find the value of x. Well, if you're looking for this to find the value of x, well, you can kind of do like this little extension, which you really want to get used to, especially for some other problems. You want to extend these lines a little more. Okay, so kind of, so you kind of want to look at it like pretend they're on the same, pretend they're in the same one. Okay, so they want you to find x. All right, obviously it looks, so look, it'll look kind of like this. If you could see this, you should be able to. It'll look kind of like this. You want to pretend it looks like that, even though it looks like this. All right, even though you can break them up, you want to pretend that they're kind of close together. So what can you see from this? Well, you can see that there's like a straight angle kind of right here, right? See the straight angle? Okay, and we'll get used to this as we practice more problems. All right, so don't get confused. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. So what we can do here is we can do x plus 105 equals, well, we have a straight, it's like this is a straight line, so we have a straight line here. So we can do this little arc here that we know has to equal 180 degrees because it's a straight angle. All right, you kind of have to just crunch them together and you'll see it. So this will be equal to 180. And then if we want to get x by itself, which is what we want to do, it says find the value of x. So we need to get x by itself. Okay, so we did x plus 105 has to equal the 180. So if you want to get x by itself now, you have this plus 105. So to get rid of this plus 105, you do minus 105 from both sides of the equation always. All right, so now 105 minus, so 105 minus 105 is 0. They go away. You don't need to write 0 in an equation. So you can just forget about these two. And you'll get x equals, well, 180 minus 105. Well, 180 minus 100 is 80. And then 80, take away that 5 that we didn't do, is 75. So you'll get x equals 75. All right. And sure enough, that works, okay? Because when you do 75 plus 105, you get 180, which is what this has to be equal to because of this arc here, because it's a straight angle. All right, you kind of have to piece them together. All right, you'll get better with this as you practice. Let's look at this one.